Good morning, everybody. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Majority Leader Ken Ronk, Legislators Rodriguez and Provenzano, Gregorius and Harris, as well as the Ways and Means Committee Chair Rich Gerantine and the entire Ways and Means Committee for their efforts to protect taxpayers. I'd also like to acknowledge the efforts of all my legislative partners committed to reform. My administration is looking forward to working together throughout the budget process to deliver results on behalf of the great people of Ulster County. Now, this budget will undoubtedly be different than those of the past because the challenges we are now forced to address are different. In addition to the significant but universal issues that face county leaders all across New York State, from Long Island to Buffalo, we in Ulster County are now forced to overcome even more. In addition to the impact of a challenged national economy, a statewide mandate crisis, and our efforts to recover from Hurricane Irene, Tropical Storm Lee, and other natural disasters, the people of Ulster County must also address the $4.5 million Cahill crisis, a crisis that has now expanded to blow a $6 million hole in the Ulster County budget. And because of our assemblyman, it is the only situation of its kind in the state. But because I believe in dealing with issues directly, regardless of how difficult they may be, or how irresponsible the root cause is, at a press conference last week, my administration took the bold step to protect taxpayers and hopefully limit the damage of the Cahill crisis. You see, it's important to note, at this moment, we still face the potential loss of over $22 million. At that press conference, I announced that my administration would once again take the difficult steps needed to shield our property taxpayers and not raise taxes. In addition, I am delivering the executive budget earlier than ever before to bring certainty to our towns and city of Kingston in their time of need. I also announced that my administration would protect our sheriff's deputies from layoffs, as well as our community college from cuts. In addition, I will do everything in my power to protect critical programs that help our most vulnerable citizens. And fortunately, we have been able to design a strategy to do all of this without any layoffs for now. But unfortunately, the people of Ulster County are still exposed to a major unnecessary danger, and so our work is far from done. You see, Ulster County is an amazing place. In addition to having breathtaking natural beauty and a long list of other tremendous assets, we are also blessed with the most important asset of all, remarkable and resilient people. And it is for those people, the great people of Ulster County, that my administration fights. Because in addition to working to participate in the American dream and build a better community, these families also share in the desire to shield their loved ones from the sometimes harsh realities of life. My administration does the exact same thing for our residents. And I am inspired by the people of Ulster County as they make the difficult decisions every single day to balance their own budgets. I've always believed they deserve a government brave enough to do the exact same thing. And that's why my administration constantly works to improve county government and never shies away from innovative solutions, even if the decisions are hard. Today's budget speech will address many of the challenges that face the citizens of Ulster County, because the great people of Ulster County deserve nothing less. A good example of this is when I took office, I was told it was impossible to sell the nursing home. But what was even more concerning to me was the fact that Golden Hill's finances were quickly moving the discussion away from public or private and instead towards open or closed. This nursing home crisis was hitting all across New York State, but I refused to allow our facility to close like the county nursing home in Suffolk County, or go into a financial spiral because of gridlock. My administration refused to let all those jobs be lost in our community, and I refused to have families' lives turned upside down because of a closure. And most of all, my administration refused to allow some of our most vulnerable citizens to be displaced from their home because government could not come up with an innovative solution. And so yes, it was hard, yes, it was gut-wrenching, and yes, it required us to design an entirely new model for addressing county nursing homes in crisis in New York State. Yes, it was all of those things, but it was not impossible. And now, after all that work, there are some who conveniently forget exactly how we bridged the financial gap. There are some who forget the one-shots that stabilized the county budget until the sale could be completed. And yes, unfortunately, there will always be typical politicians willing to pretend that Ed McMahon just showed up with a great big check. That way they can spend your hard-earned money 2, 3, and even 4 times over. And though that may be the way Albany earned its reputation for dysfunction in the past, it's not how we operate in Ulster County. So let's answer the 2 basic fiscal questions. Where did the sale proceeds go? And where did the savings from not having the subsidy at Golden Hill go? The Golden Hill was sold for $11.25 million, virtually all of which was budgeted for in 2012 and 2013. After paying all the liabilities and debts of the nursing home, there was a net $6 million in available revenue, all of which has been budgeted for in 2012 and 2013 by my administration and the Ulster County Legislature. How are the annual savings being spent? The former subsidy. An elimination of a subsidy does not equate to a financial surplus. Ulster County used one-shot revenue to offset the subsidy in 2012 and 2013. In 2014, while the subsidy to Golden Hill no longer exists, neither do the one-shot revenues. We built a bridge to get us from a very, very difficult place to a place of sustainability. And so my administration has shown that we are prepared to make the hard decisions. But just as important, we are equally committed to compassion in the process. And in the end, we will completely reinvent county government if that's what it takes. But the fact still remains, when we leave here today, I don't expect the focus to be on the sweeping reform we've completed in Ulster County over the past 5 years. Reform that protected our citizens from what would have been a 90% cumulative tax increase over the last 5 years if we had tried to maintain the status quo. I also don't expect the focus to be on the fact that we have become a model of how to address the new financial paradigm around the state of New York with innovative solutions, or that many of our ideas are now being replicated in other counties. I don't expect the focus to be on that, or the fact that with this budget, we are delivering the largest reduction in government spending in the history of Ulster County. That's $23.7 million less. Or the fact that because of thoughtful restructuring, more services are delivered today than ever before. That fact in and of itself seems almost impossible. More services for less money. But it's been done. Instead, I fully expect the focus will be on either the sequestration cuts or budgetary impacts of the Cahill nonsense, and that's unfortunate. Because the truth is, this budget is really about overcoming obstacles and protecting citizens. It's about overcoming obstacles like the negative impacts of a national economic crisis, or overcoming the obstacles of a statewide fiscal crisis, or even more unfunded state mandates. And unfortunately, it's also become about protecting the great citizens of Ulster County from Kevin Cahill and his multi-million-dollar Albany extortion. This budget has been nearly 5 years in the making, and our workforce has been amazing at doing more with less. And because of those nearly 5 years of reform, we have restructured virtually an entire government. Our sheriff's deputies don't need to be laid off this year, and they will remain available to protect and serve. Because of nearly 5 years of unprecedented innovation, this budget ensures the towns and the city of Kingston will receive much-needed safety net relief. And because of nearly 5 years of a willingness to make difficult decisions, our community college, which is not mandated, has been spared the impact of devastating cuts to education. But the fact remains, our work is far from done, and it just got much harder. As you can imagine, the budget for a $336 million organization is complex. But in the end, it's very simple. It's not about budget gimmicks. It's about hard work and having the expertise to design thoughtful solutions to complex problems when many see no options and no hope. And in the end, it's about siding with the people over the politicians every single time. So let's take a moment and talk about the consequences of the Cahill crisis right now and get that out of the way. First, let me be clear. Though he has made countless attempts to confuse and cloud the basic issue, here is the bottom line. This was never really about safety net expenses. My administration was already on track to fix this after decades of gridlock. Safety net talk by the Assemblyman was used as a distraction to cover up the truth. It was always about his raw political desire to impose control over local government. And he acted with total disregard for the consequences to our citizens, and those consequences, unfortunately, are severe. Now, I want to stress this fact. The Assemblyman accomplished absolutely nothing here except to cost Ulster County property taxpayers approximately $4 million, and the property taxpayers of the city of Kingston another $500,000. That's $4.5 million that can't go towards property tax cuts. It's $4.5 million that can't be utilized to protect public safety, and $4.5 million that can't go towards programs to help our most vulnerable citizens. And though he talked about an immediate and full takeover of all safety net expenses, and an immediate and full takeover of all election costs, he did this without any understanding of finance. So what happened in the end? The county has continued with the exact same plan we clearly outlined last year. A 3-year, phased-in takeover of safety net expenses. A plan my administration designed and implemented with the bipartisan cooperation of the county legislature after decades of gridlock. And we did it all while enduring even more unfunded state mandates, and now we're forced to do it with a huge loss of much-needed revenue. So what is the ultimate legacy of the Cahill crisis? Assemblyman Cahill severely hurt his own constituents. Visitors to Ulster County will receive a break on the backs of Ulster County property taxpayers. Ulster County's financial stability has been weakened by $4 million, and the City of Kingston's finances have been weakened by $500,000. County property taxpayers, most of all, lost out on the opportunity for a major tax cut. In the end, this is the sad legacy of the Cahill crisis, and no amount of Albany spin can change that. So to begin dealing with this reality, we are already addressing the potential loss of approximately $2 million for this year alone. And then we are preparing for the possibility of even more lost revenue of up to $22 million in 2014, all while trying to protect the towns and the City of Kingston from damage. And so we took action. I immediately directed my administration to delay new capital projects, defer equipment purchases, and reduce contractual spending. In addition, we have eliminated the use of numerous temporary employees to help provide short-term assistance. And now, as part of our preparation to face further unnecessary revenue losses, we have designed a unique $2 million county version of sequestration. This idea allows for a progression of spending cuts that do not kick in if timely actions are taken in Albany to contain the sales tax crisis. It is important to note these cuts don't have to happen. If the state addresses the sales tax crisis this year with either the Scartatos legislation or immediately upon returning to Albany in January, these cuts can be avoided. These cuts will only need to be implemented, and then only on a sliding scale, if the state legislature fails to act on our carefully designed legislation. But in the end, the unavoidable truth still remains. As well crafted as this strategy may be, this plan cannot undo the millions of dollars in lost revenue because of Assemblyman Cahill. And it is also important to note, there is one more cautionary item. If the sales tax crisis is not limited in January with state legislative action, we will have no choice but to bring forward massive mid-year budget cuts to address the potential loss of up to $22 million in 2014. And what you see here is an overview of the county revenue over a 3-year period. But the truth is, it's much more than that. It's a technical picture of my administration's financial vision to reinvent government and move towards long-term sustainability for everyone while protecting our taxpayers. You see, we began 5 years ago, not on level ground, but instead we began with multi-million-dollar multi-year budget gaps that were only able to be closed by structural changes like Golden Hill, RRA, aggressive spending restraint, and a reduction in the overall size of government to address county legacy costs. All that, plus a series of one-shots, had to be utilized. These one-shots were an important additional tool that helped balance the budget and protect taxpayers as we bridged toward a more sustainable government. But they're called one-shots for a reason. They're not recurring. To replace these one-shots, we needed recurring revenue combined with a deep and lasting cut in spending. So just like your household budgets, this budget's revenues would match expenses. And to put that into perspective, it costs about $2 million to pay for the takeover of every 1/3 of safety net expenses. For the county, that means this year, by absorbing 2/3 of the safety net expenses, our anticipated costs are approximately $4 million, and that number will likely recur and grow. That means after just 3 years of our phased-in plan, the county will have paid out over $12 million to the towns in the city of Kingston, plus a continued expense of $6 million every year going forward and growing. To understand the damage of Kevin Cahill is to understand that he speaks of one-time revenues, but he demands the result, he makes demands that result in recurring and growing expenses. The $4 million in lost sales tax revenue was the same $4 million that would have offset the second phase of the safety net takeover. So not only did he cause $4 million in lost revenue minimally, but with the additional $2 million in safety net expenses, he blew a $6 million budget gap in the county budget, harming Ulster County property taxpayers now and long into the future. And by the way, all this presumes he can limit his damage sooner rather than later. Fund balance? Without Kevin Cahill's action, there would be a $4 million more in the general fund balance. This would have left the general fund balance at 5.1%, right in the range that the New York State Comptroller recommends. Instead, because of the Cahill crisis, the 2013 general fund balance appropriation had to be significant. And now, the fund balance is down to only 3.7%. Kevin Cahill endangered our community. Now I'd like to talk about the tax levy. The county's 2014 tax levy is $78,730,408, the exact same as last year, and includes absolutely no increase in tax rate. Now, this marks the third time my administration has delivered a budget at or below 0% to protect overburdened families across Ulster County in their time of need. But the fact remains, all the positive changes we made can be dismantled if unfunded state mandates continue to expand or the Cahill crisis persists. 70% of Ulster County's budget is now mandated. That number is absurd. But worse, it's growing. But maybe the most troubling state mandate fact of all is the fact that over 100% of all Ulster County property taxes collected now go to pay for New York State mandates. And the truth is, if Assemblyman Cahill would address even a fraction of these mandates, we wouldn't even be talking about the 1% sales tax in the first place. Now, in this year's budget, like always, there will be many changes. And I'd like to take a moment and discuss two specific initiatives that are both very special and important to the county's future. As we have restructured Ulster County government operations over the past 5 years, through consolidations, mergers, and reorganizations, I'm proud to say each change has been made thoughtfully and with a purpose. And as a result, combined, they have all saved Ulster County taxpayers millions while streamlining operations and improving all overall services. So whether it was DPW with buildings and grounds, Stop DWI with probation, the Health Department and mental health, Traffic Safety and Safety, Real Property and Finance, Youth Bureau and Human Rights, as well as many others, we continue to evolve. And so when we began the 2014 budget, our focus moved to the next step in making Ulster County government work harder, smarter, and better. Utilizing currently funded positions, we designed a new division of the Ulster County Finance Department called the ACE Unit. ACE stands for Accountability, Compliance, and Efficiency. This good government initiative focuses like a laser on performance, risk management, and program development to ensure all departments are following the most up-to-date best practices. This unit will become a statewide model and will move across county departments to provide technical training and professional assistance. So whether it's ensuring those who contract with Ulster County are held accountable or performing internal risk management to insulate taxpayers, the ACE unit will be responsible. In addition, program performance evaluations and corporate compliance efforts will improve operations and address the ever-changing state and federal regulations. The ACE unit will be tasked with these critical roles too. And finally, this unit will also provide for enhanced management of grants and will complete the remaining Golden Hill closeout process to ensure we adhere to strict regulatory requirements. Now, I know this isn't glamorous stuff, but at the heart, it's key to any well-run organization. We look forward to providing information and reports to the Ulster County Legislature from the ACE unit and identifying internal improvements that will best serve the citizens of Ulster County. And though over the past 5 years we have significantly reduced the overall size of county government, utilizing technology, public-private partnerships, and internal reorganization, it isn't always about getting smaller. The ACE unit will use existing resources to make Ulster County government run better and more sustainable for the people. And that's what it's really all about. Now, as we look to make Ulster County a more sustainable government and to protect property taxpayers while ensuring high-quality care for our most vulnerable citizens, it's essential that we address the service model we have used in the past to deliver mental health care for adults in our community. You see, the shameful and often under-publicized truth is massive cuts in state aid over the past 5 years have hurt all counties in their ability to provide quality care for vulnerable New York citizens with mental illness. Those cuts total over 50% in the last 5 years. That means the loss to Ulster County of over $8 million and rising. It's a disgrace, and as a result, we have no choice but to change. If we had attempted to stay with the status quo in this tax cap environment, state cuts would have forced Ulster County into a terrible no-win situation. Either only provide care for those individuals on Medicaid and exclude everyone else, or increase the caseloads for our therapists to the point at which effective care would be dramatically compromised. When faced with this impossible choice, my administration was unwilling to accept either. So we collaborated and designed an additional option of our own. You see, I believe we have a moral obligation to ensure high-quality behavioral health services are available for those in need, regardless of their ability to pay. And so we began the difficult process of completely reinventing how we deliver mental health services in Ulster County and entered into partnerships to guarantee high-quality care remains available for children, families, and adults. This process began earlier this year with the Astor Home for Children and Family Services, which has allowed us to expand services throughout the county for youth and their families. And for 2014, we have entered into an innovative partnership with Hudson Valley Mental Health to provide enhanced services for adults now and long into the future. This plan strengthens the county's regulatory role by improving our LGU, or what is known as the Local Government Unit, and it utilizes all the best parts of public-private partnerships. It helps guarantee no layoffs. It improves our ability to provide heating assistance to seniors, veterans, and families by reallocating existing staff, and it assures everyone who's in need of mental health services in Ulster County will receive it, regardless of their ability to pay. In this effort, I am pleased to have the full support of our partners in service, CSEA, because it's never been about designing a bigger government or a smaller government. It's always been about creating a better government, regardless of the challenges before us. So whether it's a national economic crisis, or a statewide fiscal crisis, or now even the absurdity of the Cahill crisis, we will always fight to protect the great people of Ulster County. The decisions are hard, and it will not be easy, and the consequences may yet be extremely severe. And so ultimately, it may not matter that Senator Larkin, Senator Kachik, Assemblyman Skartatos, and so many other state representatives are appalled by Cahill's actions. It may not matter that Ulster County Comptroller, the Ulster County Legislature, and the editorial boards of every daily newspaper in the region have opposed the damage he is causing. And in the end, it may not matter that organized labor groups, plus countless not-for-profits all know that Kevin Cahill endangered our community. Instead, what matters most is protecting the great people of Ulster County, and that is exactly what I'm committed to doing. And because of that, my administration has refused to accept the generally accepted idea that governments must get bigger and more expensive every year. We also refuse to accept the idea that you must choose between being fiscally responsible and socially responsible. Instead, we roll up our sleeves and work day in and day out to prove that if you're willing to embrace innovation and change, you can actually have both. And so by not being typical, more services are now available for the citizens of Ulster County than ever before. Because of 5 years of hard work, the 2014 executive budget delivers the single largest reduction in government spending in our history, plus no tax increase. But the dangers are not gone, so I would like to leave you with this. This budget was designed specifically for our seniors and our children, for moms and for dads, for hardworking taxpayers and for their neighbors who may be down on their luck. This budget is for our people, the great people of Ulster County. And because of that, we will never try to be like typical governments, and I'm proud of that. I believe there are already far too many politicians and far too few public servants. Too many politicians more focused on elections than on honest solutions to serious problems. And yes, unfortunately, across our great state and our great nation, there are still far too many politicians and far too few leaders. So as someone who's been entrusted to serve as the Ulster County Executive in a place I was born and raised, I take very seriously my responsibility, as well as the oath I have made to each and every one of you. And so I am proud to say I have always and I will always side with the great people of Ulster County over the politicians every single time. And working together, we can and will make sure Ulster County remains the finest place anywhere to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you. This has nothing to do with the budget, but I do want to tell you something. I had the wonderful luxury, and some of these things come with being county executive, of going to BOCES yesterday in New Paltz and seeing young